The search continues for the Oilers as they look to bulk up their blue line with some veteran presence. Of course, two names that have already been through the Oiler locker room with Justin Schultz and Tyson Barrie, but one in Kevin Shattenkirk, who has been rumored to come to the Oilers a while bit ago, but that obviously didn't culminate. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. But before we get into the dive in, all the deep dives on all three players, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest as we just reached a milestone. We just reached 1,600 subscribers. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us along the ride here as we get into the dog days of summer, into the rest of the offseason here, and eventually preseason hockey will arrive. And everyone, myself included, are all the more excited for it. But without further ado, slim pickings on the blue line. Yes, the three names that I did mention are being targeted for the Oilers, according to Frank Saravalli here. The three names, Justin Schultz, Tyson Barrie, and Kevin Shattenkirk. The Oilers are sort of using the slim pickings on the defensive right shot, D market. But, again, slim pickings. When it comes to the Oilers, they are the oldest team in the league, and their solution to that is, obviously, to get older. In a nutshell here, Barrie, 33 years old, had just 19 points in 41 games for Nashville, so played half the season for them and was minus 10 on official goals plus minus. Again, myself, not too big of a fan of plus minus, when it comes to rating defensemen, but it just adds into the context here. Shattenkirk, 35 years old, obviously the oldest out of all of them, but has proven to the media he can still go. He reportedly turned down interest from Edmonton in the past. Of course, he was rumored to come to Edmonton in exchange for Taylor Hall in sort of a St. Louis and Edmonton trade, but that didn't culminate. Had 24 points in 61 games for Boston last year. It was only a -2. Schultz, now 34, had 26 points in 70 games for Seattle, but was -23. Deep dive into Tyson Barrie here. Nashville didn't re-sign him before he became a UFA this summer, and after going unsigned for almost 2 months, it appears like the veteran is in talks to sign a PTO with the Oilers. Bob Stauffer on Oilers Now talked about the possibility of the Oilers adding a defenseman on a PTO this year and said it could be a player that head coach Kris Knoblauch has familiarity with and has spent time in the NHL with. Dustin Nielsen of Edmonton Sports Talk Radio reported that the Oilers are keeping their options open but have had conversations with Barrie already. He's really liked in the Oilers dressing room. Of course, Barrie, fan favorite before the trade deadline, before that whole Ekholm-Barrie trade. A lot of people were surprised that Barrie was going the other way in that. They thought Evan Bouchard was going the other way in the Ekholm trade, but in the end, ended up being a win for the Oilers. Barrie's time in Edmonton also gave Evan Bouchard the perfect amount of time to develop into the elite player he is now. That spot, that defensive spot, the quarterback on the power play is not changing from Evan Bouchard. Barrie isn't likely to play every game, but the good news for him in the Oilers is that he's formed strong chemistry with Brett Kulak before Barrie left. That could come into play in training camp if the path leads the Oilers and Barrie there. You can see there the advanced stats. Again, not the greatest, but for a third pairing of Kulak and Barrie to sort of, shelter Tyson Barrie, Brett Kulak is more so the perfect player for that, and that'd be a really good third pairing, of course, Tyson Barrie. Not my first option out of any of these three, but when push comes to shove, sure, why not give Barrie another chance in the orange and blue? Now over to Justin Schultz. He started his Oiler career with a bang after Hall of Famer Paul Coffey and others sweet-talked him into signing here as a free agent in 2012. Of course, there's the whole Anaheim fiasco where he was with Anaheim and then he didn't sign with them. So every time he went to Anaheim, he was booed. And then every time he went to Edmonton, he was booed. So didn't exactly end up for him in the end, except for the fact that he won 2 cups. He was at the University of Wisconsin, but it ended with a whimper after 3 struggling years here, as some Cal's fans took to booing him mercilessly, even when he was announced in the starting lineup, and he was an angry target of the talk show callers too. Of course, if you're an Oiler fan, you are quite familiar with the term jolts, combining Justin Schultz. It was more so a verb to jolt something, means to mess it up. So when you have that named after you, there was really no hope for you. You needed a fresh start. Schultz, 34, signed with the Oilers in 2012, like I just said. Once claimed to have Norris Trophy potential. He did win the AHL Defenseman of the Year award back in 2013. Of course, played half the year in Oklahoma City because of the NHL lockout, and then came over to the Oilers. He's supposed to be, this, top-pairing defenseman, the star defenseman for the Oilers. He was pushed into that role too soon. I mean, that's kind of the reason why he didn't succeed here in Edmonton, because those teams were awful from the jump, and he was given not given a fair shake. But, in 12 years, 745 game career in which he won back-to-back Stanley Cups with the Penguins in 2016 and 2017. 2016, of course, Chris Letang was injured, and so Schultz took over the power play quarterback and led the Pens to the Cups. So it kind of put salt in the wound for Oiler fans, myself included. When it comes to Schultz, yeah, I'm still not quite over that 2016, when they traded him to the Penguins, and then he goes and wins a cup. But nevertheless, he spent much of last season with the Kraken, scoring 7 goals and 26 points in 70 games. Much like during his time with the Oilers, he struggled in recent years. According to HockeyViz, he drove offense at a 7% rate, below league average last year, in defense at a league average rate, culminating him contributing at the rate of a low-end third-pairing defenseman. And again, with all 3 of these defensemen, I'm not expecting them to, plug into that spot next to Darnell Nurse, as that's not quite the easiest thing to do in the world. Darnell Nurse kind of requires like a shutdown defense with him. I think Ty Emberson could, fill into that role quite well. I think he's only played about 30 NHL games, but you got to see what you have with him. You can't just shelter him repeatedly. Emberson, great underlying stats. So you put him next to Nurse, and then I think one of these 3 defensemen will sort of go into that third pairing role. And lastly here, Kevin Shattenkirk. Of course, not the best stats, but, he can play the special teams, the penalty kill, the power play. I know he did take over on that Boston power play there for a bit. He's got experience with that throughout his career. So, when if you're in a pinch, get Kevin Shattenkirk to run that that second power play. Of course, Darnell Nurse was on that second power play, but it doesn't hurt to have options, because options create competition, and that's what's important for the team here. If signed, Shattenkirk could be an intriguing addition to the Oilers roster. He would give them another option for their bottom pairing, and because of his offensive ability, like I said, could also perform well on their second power play unit. Because, yeah, as you can see here, the defensive pairings, the left side, strong. Depends what kind of game Darnell Nurse is having, but it's strong. And then the right side there, yeah, after Evan Bouchard, Troy Stecher and Emberson, I would switch Emberson and Stecher, but you need something that's a little more proven on that third pairing. Mark at the Line Blender here, very interesting. The tail of the 2024-25 season for the Oilers is shaping up to be a battle of the depth right defensemen. These lines are balanced, could all dominate. Like I said, Ekholm Bouchard, Nurse Emberson, Kulak and Stecher. He said Barrie would be strictly Stecher injury insurance, so that would be his pick out of these 3. And then added on some other options here for the Oilers, when it comes to free agents, like Kalen Addison fell off, but Gustav Lindstrom, I have a lot of time for, and that's another story for another day. But that's it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments who would you target out of these 3 defensemen? Would you just go into the season with what you have and then just hope nothing drastic happens to the Oilers? Myself, I would pick Kevin Shattenkirk over these 2. Justin Schultz, ever since he left Edmonton, I'm sure he's been a great player, but I just get bad flashbacks of his first time here in Edmonton. So nothing has changed much on my opinion of him. So yes, Kevin Shattenkirk would be my pick. Let me know down in the comments. Have yourselves a great day and a great weekend. And I'm Matt.